Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Zena Suissa, President of Residence Executive and Team Coaching. I'm an executive coach, psychologist, and speaker. And I'm absolutely thrilled to have with me, more than thrilled to have with me, Dr. Richard Barrett. And if you will, Dr. Richard Barrett, may I say a few things about you?
Yes, please go ahead, but don't call me doctor because I'm not a doctor.
Doctor, okay, Richard. Richard, I'm calling you Richard. Richard is an author, speaker, and internationally recognized thought and integrative leader on leadership and the evolution of human values in business and society. He's written so many books. Among these, the values-driven organization, Love, Fear, and the Destiny of Nations, the New Leadership Paradigm, and right behind me you can see Evolutionary Coaching, a values-based approach to unleashing human potential, which I as a coach totally appreciate. I'm going to start off by saying, for me, Richard is an absolutely brilliant man. I hope you're okay with me saying that because I truly feel that way. In perusing your literature, your research, your articles, your books, it's pure brilliance. It's pure brilliance. And as I said to you, and I have said that to you, you don't go at the surface level. You go deep. You dig. You find things. So therefore, I found 4 things that I feel are that work for you with regards to research. Your values, levels of consciousness, stages of development, of course, evolution, and I'm going to add cultural context. I think this defines your work. Am I right? Am I on the right track, Richard?
I think you're more than on the right track.
Thank you. I'm on the right track. So with that, I'm going to ask Richard a couple of questions, but I want to say something first. I had a teacher, I studied, first of all, at Concordia University in Montreal, and I had a teacher who you remind me of. You really do. His name is Professor Drummond. For the life of me, I can't remember his first name. It's so many years ago, but they named the Drummond Science Building after Professor Drummond. And this was his first words when I walked in the class. It was a course on physiology. He said, listen and please don't talk. I have so much to teach. Just listen to me and learn. And you remind me of that. You do?
Okay.
You do? I'll have to tell you. Okay. So I have a couple of questions. My doctoral dissertation was on beliefs. Your work is primarily on values, but of course you have research that you've done, and with your wisdom, can you help us, the viewers, understand the difference between a belief and a value?
Absolutely. In my last book, Everything I've Learned About Values, you'll find a very clear statement about this. Basically, beliefs are assumptions that we hold to be true. They may be true or they may not be true. However, values are the principles that guide our decision-making. Now, when you reach a certain stage of development, roughly around your mid-20s, early 30s, if you go on developing normally, you will shift from belief-based decision-making to values-based decision-making. Why? Because during the first 3 stages of psychological development, that's surviving, conforming, and differentiating, we learn how to be in the world and keep survive, keep safe, and feel secure by forming beliefs. Then when we get, and if you don't get past the differentiating stage, you will continue to operate on beliefs. But if you move through the next stage, the individuating stage, you will examine your beliefs and you'll realize that perhaps your beliefs are not in alignment with the beliefs of your parents or the community you were brought up in. And so now you look for some way of making decisions that come from a deeper aspect of who you are, from your soul, basically. And to do that, you focus on values. When you ask people to talk about the values and they identify their values and then they talk about them, they get very excited. Because values are the energetic drivers of our aspirations and intentions.
That's a wonderful. Would you agree that values are more emotionally based?
I never thought about that, but I couldn't know. I think some beliefs are very emotionally based, and because they're linked to past situations where you didn't get your needs met and you felt angry. So For example, you may believe that a certain type of person is not a good person because you were cheated by that type of person in the past, and when you see that type of person, you feel angry. So no, I wouldn't agree with that. They're both access into the emotional world. That's absolutely true. And when I say the emotional world, I'm talking about the energetic world.
Thank you for that. With regards to values, why is it so important to have an organization that is value-based?
Well, I sometimes talk about values-based organizations, but I also talk about values-driven organizations. And I like the values-driven better than the values-based because everybody has values. And by saying values-driven, I'm actually missing a word, positive values, because there are positive values and there are limiting values. For example, blame, internal competition, bureaucracy, hierarchy are all limiting values. And why do I call them values? Because they must be valuable to you, otherwise you wouldn't behave in that manner. But what they're valuable to is they're valuable to the ego. So these limiting values are value to the ego because the ego is fearful and wants to get its needs met. Now, the positive values are the values that we use. You could call them soul values if you like, but they are values that bond us with other people, values that help us to access our creativity, values that help us to build a better world, like making a difference. Right. Creativity, trust, openness, generosity are all positive values.
You have done research with thousands of corporations with regards to values, and you came up with 10, and I imagine what you just described are probably part of those 10. Could you just give us maybe an outline of the 10 human values that you found based on this research?
Well, the research you're talking about actually wasn't done on organizations. These are what we known as personal values assessment. Now, 500,000 people did this. It's a free assessment. Anybody can do it. And if you're listening into this, you can also do it. It's the www.valuescenter.com/PVA for personal values assessment. Right. So, and center is spelled in the English way, values, plural, center, CENTRE.com. So over 500,000 people have done that, and I looked at the overall results, and I came up with the top 10 values of humanity. Now, I actually don't have that in front of me, so I would need to, if you've got it in front of you, I'd love you to read it out because it's difficult to remember so much information.
Okay. And I don't think I do.
What I do remember is this.
I have them. Okay. It's the 10 values of humanity, analyze whatever. And I don't. I'm sorry. I got so excited. I thought you'd remember them. I'm sorry.
I can tell you this, that the first 4 values all have to do with what I call level 2 consciousness, which is family, relationships, safety, and things of that nature. And then come the 4 values at level 5 consciousness, which has to do with social cohesion. And so first of all, we focus on our relationship needs, and then we focus at a higher level on the context, the relationship context in which we live at a larger level. Okay. And then finally, the number 10 value actually is the value of continuous learning, which is a level 4 value. So people, first of all, focus on their survival safety, then on their cohesion needs with other people and in the community, and finally on their learning needs. This is the big finding that we got from analyzing 500,000 people.
And if they look on Barrett Value Center, would they be able to complete the questionnaire?
Yes, anybody can do it. It's valuecenter.com/PVA, and it takes about 2 minutes to do, or 3 minutes to do the survey. And then 3 or 4 minutes later, you'll get feedback. You'll see what levels of consciousness you are operating from. And you can also do that with your spouse or partner or even the family, everybody. And then you can compare results. This is a great way of having an after-dinner discussion about values.
Great way. A little bit of disagreements maybe here or there, but this is a terrific way of understanding each other's values or even having knowledge of these values. I think this is, wonderful. Bringing it to the workplace with regards to leadership, how do we get leaders to embed a values-based approach?
Well, how do they embed that? Well, the first thing is to enable people or leaders in particular to see the values that they hold are, the culture of the organization is a reflection of their values.
Right.
And if they want to improve the culture, then they need to improve their values. You either change the leaders or the leaders change, basically. And that means feedback. And so there are different ways of doing that. You can do the feedback at the organizational level by doing one of our cultural values assessments, where you look at people's personal values, the current culture values, and the desired culture values, and you look for the discrepancies. But when you find discrepancies in a particular business unit, for example, a lack of alignment, if you say, I call that cultural entropy. It's a degree of dysfunction in the system, and we can measure that. When you've got high cultural entropy, it generally means that the leader is operating from high personal entropy. What does that mean? It means that the leader is driven by fear-based values, which show up as these limiting values, which I spoke of earlier, like demanding internal competition. So the way you access that is ask the leader to go online and pick 10 values about how he or she operates, and then ask him to choose 15 or 20 other people who they work with on a regular basis to give them, to ask for the feedback, the values they see in the leader. And then you compare the leader's results with the average results from the aggregate results from the feedback, and you see whether, in fact, the leader feels like he's operating at a much higher level than the feedback he gets, or is operating at a lower level than the feedback he gets, or the authentic leader, where the levels of consciousness and the values actually match.
I'm suggesting to my viewers, leaders, executives, why not do this type of exercise and learn maybe more about yourself, and thus it will impart that to the organization. I think this is wonderful.
Yeah.
So one more thing. I'm going to ask you one more question, which is based on the book. And I know you've done some stuff. I've read all your articles. I've read so much about you. And again, I'm going to say at the end how I feel. You go into, which I think is so important, decision-making, because every day in our lives, we have to make decisions. And you talk about 6 modes of decision-making. Could you elaborate on those, please?
Yeah, so the first mode of decision making is instinct. That's DNA responses. You know, you walk into a dark room and you see what you think is a snake in the corner, and you jump a mile high, and then you go and get a big club and you come into the room. I mean, that's instinct based. I mean, it might be just an old rope, you know, but that's instinct based decision making, and it's wrapped up in our DNA. And then there's emotional decision making, where at some point in your past you didn't get your needs met, and you're now interpreting everything through those limiting beliefs, and so somebody may say something and you get angry. That's emotional decision making. And then there's rational decision making. Well, you know, we use our logic to do that. After that, we move into other modes of decision making. I think for me, the most important of those would be in fact, it's the highest mode of that decision making, and that's inspiration-based decision making. Now, inspiration-based decision making comes from living in alignment with your soul. So you're not using your rational mind to make decisions anymore. You're actually receiving information and direction, because you begin to realize that you don't have a soul, you are a soul. And when you realize at that level, your whole life changes, and you're given guidance all of the time. Now, before that, we get into instinct-based decision. What's the word I want? Begins with I.
Well, you mentioned instinct and inspirational.
But there's another one, intuitional. Intuition. Yeah, intuition comes before inspiration. Now, the difference between intuition and inspiration is this: that intuition can, you can have a problem and go. It could be, something's gone wrong in the house, and you're trying to figure out how to fix it. You go to sleep, and the next morning you wake up and you go, your intuition kicks in. You've got a solution. So intuition helps you in a very practical way, whereas inspiration is absolute guidance, and it's different. So inspiration is guidance, where intuition is just solving problems, basically. Yeah. So there you have it. I think I'm missing one. I can't remember which one. I think this is the fourth one.
Values?
Sorry, the most important, values-based system. So after instinct, emotion, rational, then comes values-based decision. So values-based decision-making, we talked a lot about earlier. After values-based decision-making comes intuition. After intuition comes inspiration. So each of these reflects a different stage of psychological development. So as you grow and develop, you move into these different modes of decision-making.
Thank you. So I'm going to thank you. I love you, Richard. I don't know what it is. We have an affinity. Something is going on there. You are my mentor. Well, I'm sorry. You're my mentor. You're my mentor. I've learned so much by reading. I have aha moments, and I swear to you, I won't repeat this, but I have aha moments by reading your books. There are moments when I realize why things happened to me in my past. There's revelations for me, which you've done. Thank you for that. I do.
As I say, I just get this dictation from my soul. It tells me what to write. And I've had a lot of feedback like that. I have people who write to me and say, I read your book and I cried, or I sleep with your book under my pillow, or things like that. And I'm totally gratified, but actually, it's just not me. It's just coming through me. So I'm just happy that I'm able to channel material that helps people to see to see what's important, to see the light, to get a hold on a different truth which is meaningful to them.
Me a lot, and I appreciate you so much. I think you deserve accolades, you really do, and awards. And I hope I know you're rewarded for your own gift, because you have a tremendous gift, and you're going to leave a tremendous legacy. So one more thing, what's in store for Richard Barrett in the future?
Well, I just finished a new book, which is called The Evolutionary Human, and the interesting byline to that title is how Darwin got it wrong. It was never about species. It was always about consciousness. In other words, evolution was never about species, not about the physical domain. It was always about the consciousness domain. And I'm now 90% done on another book called Worldview Dynamics and Global Consciousness Indicators, where I have mapped the consciousness of 145 nations at an overall consciousness level, and then by the 7 levels of consciousness. And that has produced some amazing, interesting insights, which I'm getting ready to share with the world.
Thank you. It's wonderful. I can't wait for your books, because I'm going to read them and I'm going to learn from them. I think you're a brilliant man. I'm going to say it again. And thank you for being with me today. I totally believe my viewers will so benefit from this. And I hope they go to your Barrett Values Center and take from that knowledge. There's so much of material.
Let me give you a website where you can get directly to all of my things, and that's richardbarrett.net. www.richardbarrett.net takes you straight to my page at the Value Center, where you'll find blogs, videos, books, articles, you name it, you'll find it there.
Thank you, Richard, for your gifts. I truly, we're blessed by having someone like you. Thank you. And I hope we'll see each other again soon.
Okay, let's make it happen.
We'll make it happen. Thank you.